sea levels, one of the catastrophic effects of climate change this year across the globe.
Kapansin-pansin, talagang napakalakas ng current, mahirap lumakad.
Did you know that our planet is warming, causing sea levels to rise? It is possible that communities surrounding the sea will vanish several years later and the Earth will be gone completely because it has been submerged. It is so alarming! But why do you need to be aware of this now? Good day everyone! We are your pre-service teachers and we have been given the task in discussing rising sea levels and their effect on coastal communities. Along the way, you will learn the concerns and problems as well as the activities undergone to address the issues.
To begin with, does anyone have an idea what a sea level is? Anyone? Alright. A sea level is the average level of the sea with regard to the land. Simply put, it is the mean level between high and low tide.
Have you ever heard of global warming and climate change? Do you think that they might be the culprit for rising sea levels? If you answered yes, then you are definitely right. Global warming is the gradual heating of the Earth's surface, oceans, and atmosphere caused by a variety of human activities. On the other hand, climate change refers to long-term changes in global temperatures and other atmospheric characteristics. You may be wondering how these two factors contribute to the aforementioned phenomena. One of the consequences of climate change is global warming. The current period of climate change on Earth has been caused by global warming, which in return is causing glaciers and ice sheets to melt. Melting ice sheets cause an increase in sea level, resulting in a new phenomenon known as sea level rise.
Over the years, the rapid growth of population in the Philippines has caused alarming ecological crisis.
As of May 1, 2020, umabot na sa 109,035,343 ang bilang ng populasyon ng Pilipinas.
According to a study released by Climate Central, coastal cities in the Philippines are at risk of sinking due to rising sea levels by 2050. Related issues to rising sea levels are flooding and groundwater extraction.
First is flooding. One of the most pressing issues in the Philippines is flooding of coastal areas which are caused by human activities such as improper waste disposal, excessive groundwater pumping, and deforestation.
Social consequences of flooding involve the loss of human life, damage to property, loss of livestock, destruction of crops, and decline of health conditions. On the other hand, environmental consequences of flooding include habitat loss and degradation, decreased fish production, and deterioration of water quality due to excessive sediments and pollutants entering the waterway.
Next is groundwater extraction. According to a natural climate change study, while groundwater extraction contributes to sea level rise less than melting ice caps and glaciers, this does not change the fact that it contributes to sea level rise because water pumped out of the ground for various purposes still ends up in the ocean.
One of the most devastating consequences of large amounts of groundwater withdrawal is land subsidence, caused by a loss of support beneath the ground. Thus, areas prone to groundwater extraction are vulnerable to submergence as sea levels continue to rise. Furthermore, this can also lead to deterioration of water supply due to salinization.
Here are some specific examples of the related issues in the Philippines.
Lumog na po kami. Pati po sa property yung asawa ko nandun po. Stranded na po.
Last October 23, 2021, one incident of flooding in the area, specifically in Aklan, occurred. With the heavy rains for about 6 hours non-stop due to a low-pressure area which adds to the rise of sea level, a rapid rise of the water from the sea straight into the rivers had submerged several municipalities in Aklan the entire night, particularly those in the low-lying areas.
In Metro Manila, groundwater extraction has also been identified as one of the causes of rising sea levels, which contributes to the reduction of the land surface. Thus, land subsidence combined with the rapid rise in sea level in Manila Bay will almost certainly result in flooding, submerging the entire metropolis. Many experts predict that Manila will become an underwater city in the next 3 decades.
Manila Bay is now higher than Manila, which has areas that are already below sea level. A World Bank study shows that sea level will rise at least 10 feet in as little as 50 years.
In the Philippines, 3 primary ways have been implemented to address and eradicate this problem. First, the Climate Change Act of 2009. This act has its focal points on specific programs and adaptations to mitigate the effects of climate change. Extensive research is conducted in connection with this act to assess the resilience and vulnerabilities of populations. Second, the National Framework Strategy on Climate Change, or NSFCC, paves the way for standards and policy to create a climate-resilient nation with healthy, safe, prosperous, and self-sufficient communities and flourishing and valuable ecosystem. This framework has carried out several actions to improve institutional and technical capacity to support the paradigm shift away from catastrophe mitigation and toward the consequences of hazards such as sea level rise.
We are trying to develop a flood hazard map. We would like to understand not only the current risk, but also the future risk in terms of the flooding in the future.
Lastly, the Philippine Development Plan, or PDP. This project lays out the country's development policies for achieving equitable growth, a trust-based and sustainable society, and internationally competitive skilled workforce in the face of climate change. This plan has primarily created the Climate Change Commission, held responsible for implementing programs among universities and LGUs.
Here are some specific examples of the solutions in the Philippines. First, the construction of seawalls. The Department of Public Works and Highways is working to ensure the protection of the coastal town in Navas and New Washington in Aklan by building seawall structures against the overflow and potential storm surges. The completed structure in New Washington is part of the department's plan to build strong shore protection along with the various coastal areas in the province and the rest of Western Visayas. Second, the construction of flood control structures. DPWH completed a 13.58 million revetment structure along Aklan River that acts as a barrier, ensuring the safety of Sitio Libuton and Barangay Bachaon Norte, Calibo, Aklan. The project aims to protect 200 residents against flooding that can harm their properties, livelihoods, and most importantly, themselves. And lastly, the relocation of people living in low-lying communities to higher and safer grounds. Metro Manila is one of the cities affected by rising sea levels in the Philippines. After Typhoon Ondoy in 2009, the government planned to relocate the port to lessen the congestion in the city.
Pangarap ko na magkaroon ng bahay, yung meron kaming masisilungan na hindi na kami magano na may mangyari sa amin, matatangay ng bagyo, yung safe kami lahat, safe pati mga anak ko, ganun.
In 2013, they institutionalized Oplan Likas, a program in which he spent 50 billion pesos to build new houses on the outskirts of that and then relocate 100,000 people.
To summarize, rising sea levels will have a significant impact, particularly on coastal communities, as a result of flooding or melting of glaciers caused by global warming and various human activities. Although we cannot prevent natural calamities, we can devise solutions to make them less harmful, such as construction of seawalls and flood controls, as well as educating the public about the dangers that they may face when the time of calamity arrives.
Cooperation and education. These must be embraced because they are the only solution.
The Philippines must be prepared to deal with the effects of increasing sea levels. Climate change is not a myth. It is real, and it is affecting people all over the world right now. Therefore, we can no longer ignore the current climate crisis.